What's up guys, and welcome back to part 2 of this series where I'm converting a Mercedes mobility minibus into a motorhome conversion. Now part 1 of the series that's already uploaded on my channel shows the quick introduction of the vehicle and then me spending 2.5-3 days removing all of the old flooring out of this bus. Now a lot of people in these types of buses will use the original flooring that's in these vehicles, but I personally don't like doing so because I'm quite tall. I need as much headroom height as possible, so that's why I've removed the flooring, because by doing so it does actually free up about 1.5 inches of extra headroom, and again when I take this headlining down, this will again free up a little bit more room as well. In the meantime, as I say, part 1 was getting all of the flooring up and out, all of the rails, things like that. So today I'm going to be concentrating on trying to get the wheelchair at the back of the bus fully removed. If I manage to get that out, again over the next day or two in this part 2 of the series, wheelchair lift out, and then once that's done I'm then going to be getting into the chassis beams of the vehicle, giving them all a clean out, giving them all a fresh lick of paint with some anti-rusting paint. Then I'm going to be giving the entire chassis of this vehicle a complete Waxoyl, just to protect all of the metalwork for many more years to come. So as I say, first things first, at the back of this bus there's an old wheelchair lift. I've already got all of the controls released from the flooring, so now it's just a case of getting the lift itself removed from the vehicle. Now this is a very heavy lift. It's a heavy duty lift that's designed to lift up wheelchair users into the back of the bus. So just by taking this lift off, it's going to be freeing up around about 200-300 kilos just from the weight of the bus itself as well. So it's always going to be worth removing any sort of wheelchair lifts if you're not going to be using them, just because, as I say, the amount of weight that they free up off these vehicles is quite substantial. So I'll show you what progress I made last time round. So as you can see, all of the old flooring is fully removed. We're down to the bare chassis beams of the vehicle, and everything's looking in really good, nice clean condition. It all just needs a brush down, a clean up, maybe a lick of paint just to give it a fresh look, and then, as I say, all of this is going to be getting wax oiled. Now towards the back of the vehicle is the wheelchair lift in question. That's the control unit for it that's already been freed out from the flooring. So this entire unit is the wheelchair lift that's going to have to get removed. It's got a number of heavy duty nuts and bolts securing it to the chassis. These are all going to have to get undone, have the wheelchair lift supported with some car jacks, trolley jacks, things like that, just so it's not going to go thundering down onto the floor. And then hopefully, as I say, once that's out, it'll free up all the area around this chassis that I'll then be able to fill in with underslung water tanks, things like that. So I'm going to get some safety gear out, some tools out, some stands and jacks out, because as I say, I don't want this falling down onto my feet or the floor or anything like that. Very heavy duty, so you do need to be careful taking out things like this. So as I say, I'll get some safety gear out, some tools out, and hopefully by the end of this video this wheelchair lift will be gone. All of the rest of the chassis will be fully protected, painted, wax oiled, ready to be built up with. And then once all that's done, we'll see how far we get on with the rest of the video. So as I say, I'll get some gear out and we'll get cracked on. that should be all the bolts undone. They're still in place, so as you can see I've just got a jack and some axle stands just to be sure that this isn't going to go flying down onto the floor, because I say it's a big old heavy lump of steel this. So now it's pretty much well supported. I'm going to start knocking the bolts through and hopefully it's just going to drop straight down onto the stands. Won't be able to get down onto the floor. Right, so there we go, that is the wheelchair lift fully lowered down away from the chassis. The only thing left to do now is to disconnect some of the hydraulic pipelines that were going up through to the pump, because the pump with the pipes connected won't fit down through the chassis where the pipes are fed through. But they're just a quick disconnect, and then as I say, the pump will be fully freed off, and then the wheelchair lift will be able to get fully removed away from the area that I'm working in. But it is fully disconnected from the chassis now. So I say I'll get all these pipes disconnected and that'll be the wheelchair lift complete and removed. Right, so there's the wheelchair lift fully removed now. I've got the controls fully removed as well. So that's that job fully done. Now I'm going to start cleaning out all the interior. I'm going to be giving out all the chassis beams a full clean down, get rid of any grime or crud that's built up inside them over the years. Then I'll be giving them a good protective coating, a fresh paint of Hammerite or Rust-Oleum, something like that. Then I'm going to be giving the entire chassis a full Waxoyl as well. So as I say, first things first, I'll give the entire interior now a full clean down, get rid of all the sawdust, things like that. We'll give it a clean, we'll give it the paint, give it the Waxoyl, see what it looks like when that's all complete. in case you're wondering why I've been drilling the holes in all of the headlining, that's because all of this fibreglass headlining is secured to some metal ducting that runs the full length of the minibus. The ducting's there for the models that also have the climate control, because the ducting acts as the venting system for the climate control. And having done one of these before, I know this is going to be the easiest way by far, rather than trying to peel all of the fiberglass away from the aluminium ducting, because the adhesive that they use when they're building these buses is ridiculously strong. So instead you can just poke some holes through, get into where they're riveted onto the little supports, as you can see on this side. And so there's a little bit of wood on each part of the triangular support for them, so it's just a case of locating where they are, drilling through, and then you can get access to the rivets, drill the rivet heads off, and then the full thing should drop away. So as I say, I've already done this side. This side I'm just about to drill the rivet heads off, and then we'll get this side off as well, and then it just leaves the main very top part of the headlining, and that bit does need to be peeled off little bits by bit, but that's it, we'll crack on. It's coming along nicely, and I'm saving a lot more time compared to the first time I did one of these. So I'll get this section down. Right, so that's the chassis fully jet washed now as well, so that's probably the cleanest it's ever been, ever since the full bus was made. And as I say, considering the chassis is 19, nearly 20 years old, it's in really good condition, with just the very barest of surfaced rust marks on them. And as I say, it is just surface rust. You can see that all the chassis metalwork is fully solid underneath, and it's just a couple of daft little scabs that you would expect on a 20-year-old chassis. But as I say, I was sort of expecting it to be a lot worse than what it is. This is really good condition, so it's just going to need a bit of a flattening back and painting up. So I'm going to leave all this water to dry up, because obviously you don't want to be painting on top of wet metalwork. So while this is all drying up, I'm going to be cracking on, taking off the rest of the headlining, and hopefully by the time all this is down, the chassis will be dry and that'll be okay to get painted up. Right, so that is the Hammerite fully applied to all of the chassis beams, both the internal structure beams and the main vehicle chassis beams as well. So that's been given a nice thick thorough coating of Hammerite throughout. Now that's been given the chance to dry as well. As I say, now I'm going to be getting the Waxoyl out. I'm going to be leaving this in a tub of hot water for a while just to make sure that the Waxoyl is nice and viscous as well, because this at the moment, if I opened it up, I could tip it upside down and nothing will come out, because Waxoyl pretty much dries solid as a coal. So if ever you're going to be applying Waxoyl, just put it in some hot water first just to warm up the tub, and then it'll be able to flow a hell of a lot more easier. Now with the Waxoyl, I'm probably going to be applying this with a Schultz gun with an air compressor. So I'm going to get the air compressor fired up and filled up, get the Waxoyl out in the Schultz gun, and hopefully soon we'll have this full chassis fully protected with both Hammerite and Waxoyl, which will protect it for many more years to come. So let's get cracked on. Right guys, so there we go, that is the chassis fully painted with Hammerite paint, fully protected with a full liberal thick coating of Waxoyl as well. So that's this entire chassis fully protected for many more years to come. I've also got all of the headlining down, all of the itchy fiberglass insulation, that's all been removed and binned. All of the original fiberglass headlining itself's been ripped down as well. That's a real pain because the adhesive that they do use to stick it up with is designed to not come back off, put it that way. So I say that's a real pain to get that down as well, but that's now down as well. So that means I can start to think about insulating the roof, but I'll probably need to get the solar panels on first, just so I can get those bolted through and secured. But I will be able to start insulating the side panels, think about the water tanks for the back, things like that. Anything that needs doing while I've got easy access through into the chassis, now's the time to be doing it before I start laying down the new floor. But that's part 2 done. As I say, it's progressing really nicely. That's all the chassis fully exposed and protected, headlining down. So as I say, crack on. There's going to be part 3 coming up next week. And as I say, that will probably be the start of some insulation, maybe getting the water tanks fitted, things like that. So as I say, I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll be able to see what we do, depending on what supplies I've been able to get. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below, give the video a good old thumbs up. Hopefully I'll see you on part 3 of the series as we go along converting this Mercedes minibus into a lovely little motorhome. Thanks for watching. Cheers.